were the skies like when you were young?
They went on forever. We lived in Arizona, and the skies always had little fluffy clouds in them, and they were long and clear.
My name's Gavin Pretor-Pinney, and I'm founder of the Cloud Appreciation Society. It's basically something that brings together people from around the world who share a belief that the sky is the most dynamic and evocative and maybe poetic part of nature. Clouds bring variety, drama, beauty to our skies. They mean that each day when we look up, it's a new page to read. And if suddenly clouds were gone, if suddenly there were no clouds, at first it would be a novelty and we'd be going, yay, this is amazing. Look, sun's shining the whole time. And then pretty soon, you'd feel something was missing. Pretty soon you'd go, wait a minute, it's got a bit monotonous. Day after day, it's exactly the same. And I think it's written into our DNA, the weather, this changeable weather. So I think it's easy to complain about something that's always there. The sky, the clouds are always present. It's easy to take them for granted. The society exists to try and change people's view. For me, cloud spotting serves a real purpose, which is it's a way to disengage with stuff I'm sort of thinking about the whole time down on the ground here, and I think this is really why I've been drawn to the sky throughout my life. I think it is because it serves a useful purpose for me, one that I know is ever present. It's a part of nature that's always there. Works well in lockdown because you don't have to go somewhere to see the sky. You can be even inside your home and see the sky through the window, especially if you're in a tower block in an urban environment. It's the last wilderness within easy reach for many in urban places.
They were beautiful, the most beautiful skies, as a matter of fact.
It's this ever-present resource that you can just tune into. You can choose for a moment, right, I'm just going to disengage because there's a beautiful sky there right now. So I'm going to choose to just take a moment. I'm going to stop all the urgent stuff I'm doing. And there's always something you've got to be doing, isn't there? There's always like stuff, I should be doing something more important. But sometimes it's good to remember, that something that's aimless, like cloud spotting, like gazing up at the sky, it can be aimless, and that doesn't mean it's pointless. In fact, it can be aimless and have a deep and profound value. And that value is one of lifting your perspective away from your day-to-day concerns, shifting your view so that your brain is invited to go into different gear, go into a different mode. It's like the daydreaming mode that is easily accessed when you're a kid, but becomes more and more distant and ungraspable when you're an adult. The sky and the clouds, the ever-shifting abstract art above us provided by nature is an invitation to re-engage with that daydreaming mode. I think that clouds are brilliant sort of stimuli for poets and artists, and that's because of this magical quality that they have of appearing and disappearing. It makes them feel a bit like emotions or ideas. A cloud forming in the sky is like an idea forming in an absent mind. So for this reason, they've always kind of felt like good metaphors for feeling and emotion. Right back to Aristophanes, the ancient Greek playwright. He described the clouds as patron goddesses of idle fellows. The ancient Greeks, they quite liked finding shapes in the clouds. Good, they sort of found it enjoyable. And we get our terms like cloud cuckoo land from the plays of Aristophanes. And, you look at a poet like Shelley. Shelley did a poem called The Cloud, and it's all about how clouds are in constant change. I am the daughter of earth and water, the changeling of the sky. The stanzas in that poem talk about how clouds live and die They're constantly appearing and disappearing, changing. They never really can die. They seem to die and then they just rise once again. And that really is the sort of, I guess, the essence of it, and why clouds have this magical and poetic kind of feel for us, because of this appearance and disappearance. And it's interesting that it's one simple bit of science behind that. The simple bit of science is that water is unique on our planet. It is the only substance on Earth, in the natural conditions of Earth, that's found in solid, liquid, and gas states. Water just changes so easily between them. And in the sky, we see water in droplet form. That's like the fluffy white cloud you see on a sunny day. It's called a cumulus. We see water in ice crystal form. Those are the high wispy clouds that are called cirrus, and that are named after a lock of hair. We can't see water in gas form. It's transparent, but it's one of the gases of the air around us, and every breath you breathe out has the gas form of water in it. And because water can change just so easily, with the slightest difference in temperatures between these states, that means it is in a constant dance between visibility and invisibility. This simple, unique quality of water on Earth is the root of all the inspiration that poets and painters and young children get from the magic of clouds appearing and disappearing. The mode of listening to music is similar. It's the oral version, isn't it, of gazing at the sky. And particularly if you're listening to more kind of ambient styles of music where it's not so much structured around a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the reason I say that is because the narrative of the sky is one with no beginning and no end. This is why it's an invitation for our brains to go into that daydream mode, that idle mode of the brain. And I think that certainly listening to some styles of music gets your brain into that same mode. And it is such an important part of brain activity, one that is being edged out in the kind of digital age, the device culture that is so consuming now for us all. Because when you have a device in your hand, any little gap in your day can be filled, as we well know, just like go through your emails, to update your feed or whatever it is. In the past, when I was a kid, I lived in London, used to sit there, wait for a bus. You haven't got anything else to do. You haven't got anything to do but just sit there and sort of stare at people walking by, look across the street, and your brain's just whirring away in a sense. But you're not concentrating on something like you are reading your emails. That is your brain going into an idle mode, because you've got like a bit of a boring gap with nothing to do. We don't have any of those in our day now. And as a result, that sort of mode of the brain has been edged out. And that's a bad thing, because when you look at the scan of, like an fMRI scan of someone's brain, when they are just staring at the wall, doing nothing, just like their brain is doodling along in idle mode, thinking about whatever and nothing very much. The brain activity then, compared to the brain activity when they're concentrating on a task, they're trying to work out some like maths or whatever it is, the same amount of energy is being consumed in both those situations. In one case, it's being used for something kind of very conscious to get through this task and work it out. In the other, people aren't really sure, but it's doing stuff. It's rearranging things. The brain is consuming energy, lots of activity, and this is assumed, this idle mode of the brain, it's assumed to be the brain rearranging things. And that is what's happening when you're in a daydream mode. That is when ideas get moved about, when connections might emerge that weren't necessarily obvious when you're sort of thinking more in a linear way. And then you realize that that's really valuable for creative thought. That idle mode, that letting your brain just doodle along in your kind of daydream state is good for your, well, I think it's good for your health, but it's also good for your creativity. And, you know, at the Cloud Appreciation Society, when it comes to looking at the sky, we argue as well it's good for your soul.
They were beautiful, the most beautiful skies, as a matter of fact. The sunsets were purple and red and yellow and on fire, and the clouds would catch the colors everywhere. That's neat, because I used to look at them all the time when I was little. You don't see that.
What's special about a sunset is partly it's the colors. You know, when the sun's low on the horizon, its light has reached you at this low glancing angle through the atmosphere. That means it's traveled a long way, because it's come sideways, traveled a long way, and it's traveled a long way through the dense lower atmosphere. This has the effect of scattering away or the bluer end of the spectrum of light that we can see, leaving behind the warm, rosy, golden, amber hues that we associate with sunsets and sunrises. So you'll still get that to some degree, but only when you have a canvas onto which those colors can be painted does the sky really light up. When you've got a cloudless sky and the sun's setting, you'll have a kind of consistent spectrum of colors to some degree across the sky for quite some time. When you've got a cloudscape onto which that light is shining, the whole experience is briefer, because there's a moment most of the time the sun's above the clouds, and then when it gets down onto the horizon, there's a moment when it can shine up onto the underside of the clouds. That only happens at sunrise and sunset, when the sun's on the horizon and the sky off where the sun is clear enough for it to be allowed to shine up uninterrupted to the clouds above you. But when that's the case, this lighting effect is brief. This is a moment when the clouds are only going to be like that, the particular arrangement that you're looking at once. I mean, that is what's always so special about this abstract, chaotic nature of the sky. The beauty of the chaos of the sky means that it's only like that once. And then laid on top of that, you have the fact that it is only lit from beneath like that for just a few moments in the day. And all those things combine to really emphasize something that is the case for all sky scenes. When you take a moment to notice something in the sky, you know it's going to be like that only once. You know that you could run around and get your camera and try and take a picture of it, or try and get your phone out and start messing around and make, or you could go, by the time I've done that, it's probably kind of changed and it won't really be looking the same anyway. Maybe I shouldn't even bother with that. Maybe I should just sit here with you playing the music on the beach in Ibiza. You're sitting there. You should actually think, you know, don't try and take a picture of this. Don't try and kind of capture it and pull it out of the ocean like a fish that you've landed. Just watch it, observe it, be in the moment. See it as an invitation and a reminder that everything that's valuable in life is fleeting. The things that have most value are the things you can't possess. And the sky is a reminder to us to be in the present, be there for the moment, soak up that beautiful chaos of the sky.
Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. Looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and they snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's cloud illusions I recall. I really don't know